Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert, covering a college meltdown as DEI is canceled. Exhausted, confused, and unprecedented. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. From the Caryville Times, diversity offices on college campuses illegal in Texas as 30 new laws go into effect. And yes, there are some people that are not acclimated to it just quite yet. From the Austin American-Statesman, exhausted, confused, unprecedented. Texas professors and students reflect on DEI ban. And I'm not happy that people are having a hard time with this. But this is the problem with giving people unjustified special treatment. People who fall under the DEI banner and get assistance from DEI programs are not getting the opportunity to prove themselves based on merit. Everyone deserves a chance. No one deserves an extra chance because of their skin color or their gender or their sexual preferences. And if you do get it and you become dependent on it, when it disappears, which it will eventually, whether it's Texas or Florida did the same thing, or in workplaces, it's dying out in workplaces as well. People ultimately have to win or lose based on how good they actually are in competition with everyone else. And that's a lesson professors and students in Texas are starting to have to learn. Opponents of the ban on diversity, equity, and inclusion offices and programs at Texas public universities and colleges say the new law removes protections against the historic exclusion of students of color and those who are LGBT. What do you mean LGBT people or students of color were excluded? They're not allowed to go to the college? No, that's not what they mean. They mean they're not getting special preferences anymore. Quote, DEI offices are not and have never been an instrument to promote one race or gender or sexual orientation above another, said Courtney Avant, legislative counsel for the Human Rights Campaign and LGBT rights nonprofit. They have been a critical tool to address inequality and discrimination. The Human Rights Campaign is the company that ruined Disney. They're the company that ruined Hasbro. The company that ruined Mattel. But not just them. Hundreds of these companies have been ruined. This is the Human Rights Campaign talking, leading the fight for LGBT rights. What these guys do is put out an instruction guide, a scoring guide, and they do keep track for companies to follow their corporate equality index criteria. And they give them a list of things that they need to do. Sexual orientation for employees, guarantees of inclusive benefits, supporting an inclusive culture by forcing multiple LGBT internal training and accountability efforts, a demand for what they call corporate social responsibility. So the corporate needs to conduct itself in a way that if the Human Rights Campaign was running it, they would essentially run it the same way. Like Disney with all of its LGBT themes, all of the race swaps, all of the bizarre changes with the Disney brands comes down to this corporate equality index nonsense. There are hundreds of these companies submitting themselves to this, and their name comes up often in my videos because I cover the companies that are getting destroyed by this. Senate Bill 17, which prohibits colleges from using state money to provide, quote, special benefits to people on the basis of race, color, or ethnicity, considering diversity in hiring or conducting mandatory DEI trainings, went into effect January 1st. Now, it's not like people are disabled. If they're disabled and they need special services, that's different. Finally, Texas has had enough of this. Senator Brandon Creighton, who authored the bill, told the American Statesman in a statement Saturday evening that DEI programs are ineffective and inject politics and promote cancel culture into our colleges and universities. Quote, I challenge those who still oppose SB 17 to read the legislation, which narrowly ends the practice of compelled speech, mandatory political oaths, and diversity training and hiring practices that are not merit-based. SB 17 does not affect academic courses, research, guest speakers, recruitment, provision of health care, and student groups, yet the law's broadness and fear of overcompliance have left rights advocates, students, and university employees worried that those programs could also get chopped and that professors will leave. Universities across the state began complying with SB 17 at different paces, sometimes months before the law went into effect. And the reason they would do it months before it goes into effect is because when you run an operation and you have employees and you need training and you have to change policies, it can take weeks or even months, sometimes longer, to make the changes you need to make to comply with a new set of operations rules. Texas A&M University, a very big university, was among the first institutions to act. It cut its Office of Diversity in September, and in November, it announced the Student Pride Center would become the Student Life Center. So now the Student Center that was a Pride Center is not just for LGBT students, it's for all students. If the state is helping to finance this, why wouldn't they do that? The University of Texas system, which oversees 14 academic and health institutions, including UT in Austin, released fact guidance in mid-September and finalized its compliance policy in November. As of January 1st, UT Austin's former Division of Diversity and Campus Engagement is now known as the Division of Community and Campus Engagement, and the Gender and Sexuality Center is now the Women's Community Center. It's unknown if the Multicultural Engagement Center, which houses 6 university-sponsored students groups, the African American Affairs, Asian Desi Pacific Islander American Collective, Latino Leadership Council, Native American and Indigenous Collective, Queer People of Color and Allies, and Students for Equity and Diversity will continue to operate or be reprogrammed. The center's website was taken down in December, so they're probably going to change it if they're taking down the website. Antonio Ingram, Assistant Counsel at the Legal Defense Fund, that's this guy, a national racial justice advocacy organization which unsuccessfully advocated against SB 17, said DEI bans have only been passed in Texas and Florida so far, leaving enforcement in unprecedented territory. He said SB 17 attacks students' ability to find belonging on campuses or a desire to come to Texas. I think Texas has a lot to offer. It's not just their diversity, equity, and inclusion offices on campuses. A lot of people are moving to Texas. Quote, it is creating a chilling effect on people of color and queer students and our allies who want to come to places like UT Austin, Ingram said. Why would you come to an institution that makes you hide parts of yourself or does not give full dignity to all parts of yourself? Well, you're not going to get special treatment. Again, you're not disabled. It's not like they took out a handicap ramp for someone that can't go up the stairs. You're just getting treated like a normal person. That is what equality actually is. The confusion and despair on campus is profound, said Karma Chavez, a UT Mexican-American and Latina studies professor and an executive committee member of the UT chapter of the American Association of University Professors. Quote, I've been on university campuses for over 20 years, and I've never been on one where the morale is as low as it is right now at UT Austin, she said. Faculty members are exhausted. Quote, a lot of professors are on the job market right now, Chavez said. Chavez, who as a chair of UT's Mexican American and Latina Studies Department, writes letters for colleagues seeking employment elsewhere and said she has written several. Cretan, SB's author, however, said he has heard from professors and administrators now seeking employment in Texas who were previously concerned about the weaponization of DEI units and merit-based hiring. Quote, now that SB 17 is law, I'm confident that Texas public colleges and universities can return to their core mission of innovation and education. And if they do not, the Texas Senate will be resolute in enforcement of this legislation, which includes provisions for university funding clawbacks should there be violations. Idea Thurston came to Texas A&M 4 years ago to work as an associate professor in health promotion and community health. She said a significant selling point for her recruitment was working in the diversity science cluster, a cohort of psychology faculty members and graduate students who research social identities related to sex, gender, race, ethnicity, cultural identity, age, language, sexuality, and more. When they say and more, what do you think they mean? Like the two spirits thing? I don't know. But within years, she felt like her work was no longer valued. An article she co-authored in 2020 about addressing racism in psychological science received praise nationally, she said, but little attention from Texas A&M. Quote, even the science that I was doing, that at the time I was recruited was said was valued, did not seem to be valued anymore, Thurston said. I mean, they didn't make you feel special enough? Like, didn't they pay you? They let you hang out in this little diversity science cluster? I mean, what do you want? Just do your work. People generally get what they deserve. If you do the work, you get the opportunity. If you do the work and it's valuable and it's meaningful, you will get the praise. Maybe not the first time around, but you'll get it like the next time around or the time after that. The problem is these guys work in a fantasy world with no material value that just basically creates confusion, stress, and unhappiness for people in their personal lives, in their educational endeavors, and then later for them in the workplace. Last year, when lawmakers began discussing how to regulate DEI at universities, she worried for her research. After Governor Abbott's office in February issued a memo telling public universities to stop considering diversity in hiring, she was confused about how to recruit staff whose work centered on diversity. Thurston said she and other faculty members stopped working on an internal grant after they were left confused if SB 17 would allow it. Quote, "It was definitely a chilling effect," Thurston said. This was his announcement from Austin American-Statesman. Texas Governor Greg Abbott calls for end to diversity hiring practices at state agencies. Yeah, I mean, it's enough already. Northeastern University tried to recruit her in September 2022, but after having relocated with her family to Texas A&M, she declined. In the months after, as conversations against DEI in Texas were intensifying, she agreed to take a look at the campus in Massachusetts. It's nice to have all these options, and she's still complaining. By March, the month when SB 17 was introduced in the legislature and weeks after Abbott's memo, she accepted the job. Thurston now is the Associate Director of Northeastern University's Institute for Health Equity and Social Justice Research. Though research is exempt from the DEI ban in Texas, Thurston said she believes more diversity scholars in the state will look for employment elsewhere. Quote, "This direction that Texas is going will drive scholars away," she said. "I wouldn't be in academia if I could not do this health equity work, and so for it to be on the line, it just wasn't tenable for me." Good for her. She went on and pursued an opportunity that was appropriate for her. They don't want this anymore in Texas. You can go do it in Massachusetts, apparently. Joshua Barber, a communications professor, worked at Texas A&M from 2008 to 2016, and at UT after that. He loved his time in Texas. He and his wife imagined retiring there. But last year, he relocated north, largely due to state politics. "I just couldn't see myself continuing to try to do my best work under those circumstances." Wow, these people do give up pretty easily, don't they? The changes really pointed to a kind of instability and unpredictability that made it difficult for me to make a long-term commitment. As a researcher of organizations, he said there is no more important issue than how institutions manage diversity. Barber, who is now a professor at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, a place and state where he said value diversity, said he misses UT, but SB 17 and other state laws change the landscape of higher education in Texas. So all you have to do is get a little tough with the laws, and these DEI people just run out of your state. It's a good lesson for other states that are considering this kind of legislation. You can get these people right out of your universities. All you have to do is pass a couple of restrictive laws. Quote, "If I'm having a conversation with a graduate student who's thinking of coming to the university," Barber said, "and they ask me, am I going to be discriminated against because of the color of my skin or because of my religious belief? And I can't say with confidence that the institution will make sure that you are protected. That's just a really hard conversation to have. No one was getting discriminated against because of their skin color. They just weren't going to be getting special privileges anymore because of skin color, gender, or sexual preference. Literally. Everyone is being treated the same. That is what's happening. And that's too much for some of these professors." Avant, the human rights campaign lawyer, said the removal of DEI offices at universities, with an exception for student groups, puts the onus on students to address gaps in need. Yes, instead of the state paying for it and the state financing all of this discriminatory work, student groups can do it on their own time if it's worth it to them. If it's not worth it to them, if it's not really that important, they won't do it. Quote, "It's a lot to put on their shoulders," Avant said. Sofia Alejandro and Yatziri Nava, both Hispanic third-year students at UT, are starting a Hispanic film student organization at the school. At the group's first gathering, seeing her Hispanic classmates come together in one space brought Alejandro to tears. Great, then it's worth it for her. She loves it. Quote, "Our perspective wasn't out there, and having that space for us, I literally cried at the first meeting," Alejandro said. "It's not about giving Hispanics more opportunities. It's about leveling the playing field. No, it's about giving certain people more opportunities than other people. That's all it's actually about." Alejandro and Nava said the overarching feelings on campus right now are confusion and fear. Confusion about why DEI is being targeted, and fear of how it will affect not only their experience, but students' perspectives on diversity. On December 5th, Nava and Alejandro gathered outside on the West Campus Mall to protest SB 17. A few other students joined them. As a student organization, their group, Acción Cine Colectivo, will be allowed to seek registration next September. By the way, how do you like my Spanish accent? studied in high school. Let me know what you think of my Spanish accent in the comments below. But Nava, who is the diversity officer of another film organization, says she's already concerned about UT resources the organization will have access to. You will have access to the same resources that other students do on campus. Literally, that's it, the same. Quote, I know a lot of the times these laws that are passed, they're put in place by people who don't really take into account the ones who are being affected, Nava said. We have a responsibility to speak up, and that's the only way that we will make sure that those people know how we're being affected. Chavez, the UT Mexican American and Latino Studies professor, said she's here to stay, to support students of color and queer students as best she can. Quote, I've put roots in here, and I want to be here, and I really believe in my students and colleagues, Chavez said. But UT and the state of Texas make that very hard to do, I would say. Well, good for Chavez for staying at the college and trying to do something to continue what she thinks is important. She's not going to get paid extra money to do it. She's not going to have access to the same state resources to spend on her own personal crusade, but that is her business. It's not the business of the state of Texas to subsidize special resources for students who are not disabled. They're just people and need to be treated the same as everyone else. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.